Script. Have you ever been sitting alone in a room perfectly still when that icy prickle suddenly dances down your spine? You feel it, the heavy, unmistakable sensation of eyes pressing against the back of your neck, as if an invisible observer is standing just outside your line of sight. It's a feeling so visceral, it makes the hair on your arms stand up. Yet when you turn around, there is nothing but empty air. Most people dismiss this as a creepy vibe or side effect of a horror movie. But what if I told you that your brain isn't malfunctioning? What if that sensation is actually a high-level survival calculation, a prehistoric software program running on modern hardware? Today we are going to deconstruct the Primal Glitch. We'll start by looking at the sensory tricks your eyes play on you, move into the psychological projections of a lonely mind, and finally uncover the evolutionary trade-off that makes you feel watched even when you're completely alone. By the end of this journey, you'll realize that your brain isn't trying to scare you, it's trying to keep you alive. Itch. Number 10. Peripheral vision glitches. Our eyes are not cameras. They are data processors that prioritize speed over accuracy. In your peripheral vision, the brain low resolves images to save energy, creating a zone where shapes become ambiguous and shadows can morph into figures. Because your brain hates ambiguity, it fills in those blurry gaps with the most likely threat a human shape. You aren't seeing a ghost. You're seeing a best guess by a brain that would rather see a monster where there is none than miss a real one. But this is just the surface the way your eyes lie to you. What happens when your ears start joining the deception? Number 9. The acoustic shadow. Have you ever heard a floorboard creak or a door click and immediately felt a surge of adrenaline? This is auditory pareidolia, the brain's tendency to find patterns in random noise. When your environment is quiet, your brain turns up the gain on its internal microphone, making it hypersensitive to white noise like wind or humming appliances. It interprets these random vibrations as footsteps or whispers because for our ancestors, a sound in the dark was almost always an indicator of a predator's movement. You feel watched because your ears have convinced your brain that someone is moving nearby. But it gets deeper than just noise. It's about the spaces between things. Number 8. Environmental ambiguity. Our brains are wired to seek out faces a phenomenon called pareidolia. In environments with limited visual cues, like a cluttered room or a fog-heavy landscape, the brain experiences a data void. To fill that void, your subconscious populates the shadows with potential threats. You aren't imagining a person, you are experiencing a hallucination of safety by trying to map out every possible danger in your surroundings. It's a defensive scan like a radar sweep, but it often returns a false positive. However, this isn't just about your surroundings, it's about how you perceive yourself. N. Number 7. Mirror perception. There is something uniquely unsettling about looking at your own reflection in low light. A disruption of self-recognition kicks in when the brain struggles to perfectly sync your movements with the image in the glass. For a split second, that face to your face can feel like an intruder occupying your space. This creates a sense of dual presence, where the brain momentarily loses track of who is the observer and who is the observed. It's a glitch in your self-recognition software that feels like someone else is watching from behind the glass. But even when you're looking at yourself, your mind might be projecting your internal state outward. Number 6. The telepathic paradox. Have you ever felt like someone is reading your thoughts or watching your internal state? This is often dismissed as weird, but it's actually a sophisticated projection of internal anxiety. When our internal monologue becomes loud enough, especially during high stress, the brain can struggle to distinguish between an internal thought and an external perception. It's as if your mind is so aware of its own activity that it projects that awareness onto the environment. You feel watched because you're intensely observing yourself, and the brain gets confused about where that observation is coming from. It's a private experience made public by your own neurochemistry. Number 5. High-stress media priming. We live in an era of constant narrative consumption. When you watch a thriller or a horror movie, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, is being flooded with threat data. Even after the TV is off, that chemical spike remains. Your brain stays in a state of hypervigilance, scanning your actual home for the monsters you just saw on screen. You aren't being watched by a ghost. You're being haunted by a narrative that primed your survival instincts to stay on. It's like leaving the smoke detector on high alert after a fire drill. But what happens when a state of high alert becomes your default setting? N. Number 4. The hypervigilance loop. This is where the feeling of being watched moves from an occasional chill to a constant wait. When you become aware of the feeling, your brain begins to monitor that feeling itself. Each time you check your surroundings and see nothing, your brain doesn't say, "I'm safe." Instead, it says, "I'm glad I caught that before something happened." This reinforces the hypervigilance, creating a feedback loop where your brain rewards you for being scared. You are trapped in a cycle of checking, which keeps your adrenaline high and makes the sensation of an observer feel even more real. It's not paranoia. It's a survival loop that has lost its off switch. But to understand why this happens, we have to go back millions of years. Number 3. The smoke detector effect. This is the core evolutionary truth. Evolution does not care about accuracy, it cares about survival. In the wild, if you hear a rustle and think it's a tiger when it's just wind, a false positive, you lose nothing but a little energy. However, if you think it's the wind and ignore a real tiger, a false negative, you die. Evolution has hardwired our brains to favor the feeling of being watched because for 99% of human history, it was the safest bet to be wrong about a threat. Your brain is essentially an oversensitive smoke detector. It's better for it to go off when there's no fire than stay silent while the house burns down. You feel watched because your ancestors, you felt watched, were the ones who survived long enough to pass on their genes. But even this primal success has a modern downside. Number 2. Sensory deprivation and data voids. Visual 5's Dolly,